What we don't know is, does this thing escalate? And this is where, for investors, I think the impact on oil prices is so important. So when the war started, when the war broke out after the attack on October 7th, everyone said, oh, oil's gone to 100 or 150 or whatever. It hasn't. And there was no particular reason to think that it would, based on what I just described. What did happen is oil prices, they went up a little bit. I think like $85, maybe $88 a barrel, but they kind of stabilized. But now put this in the global economic context, particularly the United States, gasoline consumption is dropping in the United States. The consumer is sort of tapped out. The third quarter numbers might be okay based on July and what consumers were doing. They were spending their savings and using up their credit cards. Well, there are limits to that. Your savings get to zero and your credit card is tapped out and you can only make the minimum payment. And 20% interest, your principal is going to double in 3 years. So that's not going anywhere.
Jim Rickards delves into the escalating geopolitical tensions and their potential impact on the global economy. He discusses the initial stability in oil prices despite the conflict, but emphasizes the crucial role of Iran. Rickards outlines the intricate web of alliances involving Iran, Hezbollah, and Hamas, pointing out the risk of a two-front war for Israel. The possibility of Iran's direct involvement and potential closure of the Persian Gulf raises the specter of oil prices skyrocketing to unprecedented levels, causing economic turmoil. He also highlights the ongoing financial warfare between the U.S. and Russia, emphasizing the failure of sanctions and their detrimental impact on the U.S. As the situation hangs in the balance, the uncertainty surrounding these geopolitical events could potentially plunge the world into a severe recession or even a financial crisis. Watch till the end to listen to Jim's prediction on potential future scenarios.
It kind of looks like the consumer slammed on the brakes maybe around the middle of August, certainly in September. So we're entering the fourth quarter. I finished the third quarter, entering the fourth quarter with a lot of consumer weakness. Gasoline consumption is down. That's usually pretty inelastic demand. You still got to get to work and take the kids to school and all that. But gasoline consumption is down, which is a really negative economic sign. So a lot of other things are deflating. So with that as background, one would expect that the wholesale price of oil, WTI and Brent would come down, but it hasn't. So I would say, if you say, what's the impact of the war so far, is that the South oil prices have soared, but they haven't come down. There's a floor. Now the question is, off of that floor, does it stay there, or does something else happen that causes it to spike up to that $120, $150 barrel oil that some people have been talking about? The answer is it could, depending on Iranian involvement. Iran is the key to the whole thing. So Iran supports Hamas, but they have much larger support for Hezbollah. I mean, I wrote a monograph for one of the Washington think tanks 2 years ago it was on Lebanon, but you can't write about Lebanon without talking about Hezbollah, how they finance things, and and a lot else. And Hamas is militarily much larger. Sorry, Hezbollah is militarily much larger, much stronger, much better armed than Hamas. As I say, Hamas is coming on bulldozers and paragliders. Hezbollah's got drones and precision missiles, and by the tens of thousands, a much larger force, better trained, better equipped, etc. So that's really, Hezbollah is really Iran's proxy army or mercenary army in Lebanon or the northern border of Israel. So two things. Number one, when Israel attacks Gaza, which we just talked about, does Hezbollah open a second front? So all of a sudden, the Israeli Defense Forces have got to be fighting in the north and the south, which obviously weakens them in both places because they can't concentrate more than a certain amount of force. Number one, Israel is preparing for that. They've already, as I say, I've been in the Golan Heights, I've been in the West Bank, I've been in Palestinian territory, Jordan, I've been all over the place there. And when you get up on the Golan Heights and realize why Israel's never giving it up, because it just looks down on all the Sea of Galilee, almost to the Mediterranean. But I've been to kibbutzes in that part of Israel. They're evacuating all that because they're worried about what Hezbollah is going to do next. So the first level of escalation would be if Hezbollah launches a substantial attack and Israel's in a two-front war. That will send the price of oil up, because the next step is Iran. Now, Iran's backing all of this, just to be clear. Iran's financing all of it, mostly Hezbollah, but also Hamas. And Iran's sharing intelligence, so Hamas doesn't have doesn't have spy satellites, but Iran does, so they can share intelligence with Hamas and Hezbollah. Obviously, Iran has a very advanced missile program. They can share that with Hezbollah. So if Hezbollah opens a front in the north, then that's proxy participation, very close to direct participation by Iran. And then the question is, does Israel attack Iran, or does the United States get involved? Once that shot is fired, then forget it. Now you're talking about closing the Persian Gulf. You're talking about which Iran can do. We can try to fight the Iranian Navy in the Straits of Hormuz. That would be a touch and go battle, but we can win. But do you really want a full scale naval engagement between Iran, the United States, and the Straits of Hormuz? You can. I've been there too. You can. Well, not quite. I hate to sound like Sarah Palin, but you can almost see across it from the high elevation. Pretty tight quarters, but that's what could result. So at that point, oil's 150. Who knows how high? The U.S. economy is sinking, and don't underestimate the extent to which Iran, and I'll throw in Russia, because let's not forget the war in Ukraine. This is a financial war. Yeah, of course it's a kinetic war. Of course people are being killed. It's sad. 400,000 Ukrainian casualties. I just talked about possibly tens of thousands of Palestinian casualties. But this is a financial war as much as anything. And the U.S. is losing. The Russian sanctions have failed. I teach a seminar in financial warfare at the U.S. Army War College, and I told my 2022 class, this is April 2022, not long after the Ukraine war started, I said these sanctions are going to fail, and worse than that, there'll be blowback that's going to hurt the United States more than it's hurt Russia. That's happened. So we know a lot. There's a lot we don't know. I think we can correctly anticipate a large-scale Israeli land, infantry, armor, drone invasion of Gaza. But what we don't know is, will Hezbollah open a second front, would escalate to Iran? But those are the things that are really going to tip the global economy into a global recession, if not a financial crisis.
So let's recap what we explored with Jim Rickards. Firstly, we learned about the initial stability in oil prices despite the conflict, highlighting the delicate balance in the market. Jim emphasized the pivotal role of Iran, shedding light on its intricate alliances with Hezbollah and Hamas. The looming threat of a two-front war for Israel and the possibility of direct Iranian involvement could lead to a drastic spike in oil prices, disrupting economies worldwide. Additionally, Rickards discussed the ongoing financial warfare between the U.S. and Russia, revealing the ineffectiveness of sanctions and their adverse consequences for the U.S. economy. As we navigate these uncertain waters, the future remains precarious. The risk of a global recession or even a financial crisis looms large. To stay updated on this evolving situation and explore deeper insights into the world of finance and geopolitics, make sure to subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Thank you for watching, and we look forward to exploring more critical topics with you in our future videos.